Okay, so as in the last video I told you that I will be explaining the functional components or the functional units of computer in detail. So here we go. So the very first component, last video we have seen what is meaning of computer system. So computer is what? It is an electronic device that takes input, processes those input and then produces the result. Okay, so coming to its block diagram or the functional component, we can find input device, or it's also termed as input unit. Then this major component is what? This is the CPU. This is divided into control unit and ALU. I told you that CPU have two major components as CU and ALU. Okay, and then they are connected with memory. So it's primary and secondary storage. Okay, so let us find what is a CPU. So what is CPU? This is simply an electronic circuit which carries or which performs the processing work. Okay, and you know it very well that CPU is known as the brain of the computer, and CPU is also termed as processor. So just remember this alternative names. Okay, so just find the highlighted portion and you can jot this point down in your fair copy and you can make your own notes. Okay, in the meanwhile I am going to tell you when to make another point, when to start with another topic, but please, if I am not mentioning those, so please follow it as it is, so that it will be easier for you to make your notes. Okay, I've highlighted this notes, so the highlighted portion you can copy in your notebook. Okay, just copy this point onto your notebook. So you can find this, you can write down this as the first point. It is an electronic circuit of a computer that carries out the actual processing, or directly if in simpler words you want to write, so it will be just an electronic circuit which carries out the processing work. Second point will be, it is usually referred to as brain of the computer. Yes, we know it very well that CPU is known as the brain of the computer. And third point can be, it is also termed as a processor. Okay, so this is third point. So likewise I think you can make your own notes, and if you are making your notes in a point to point basis or point to point manner, so it will be easier for you during your examination to learn those points. Okay, so I think now we are a bit clear how to make the notes. So I'm just explaining you all meaning of this. Next point says CPU is given instructions and data through programs. Now see, there are two words. First word is this data. First word is data and second word is information. Let me make this two words definition very clear to you all. Whenever I say data, so that data means what? Random fact, random, anything which is random. Like if I say number 1, so number 1 is a data. If I say any name, like name is Ankit, so the name Ankit in itself is the data, right? But when I say information, so information says meaningful data. Information says that whatever data or whichever data is meaningful, so that is information. So when I say Ankit's roll number is 1. Now see, I have used the word Ankit and I have used the same number 1 here and I have made a sentence. So this means this is showing you all a meaning. So therefore this is an information. Okay, this is an information. So this is difference between data and information. So remember this very carefully. And if you find anything which is new to you all, so you can again copy those points onto your fair copy, so that it will be easier for you all to recall it when needed. Okay, so whenever we give any data or instruction, so this is given into the CPU in terms of program. Now what is a program? Program, I told you that it is set of instructions. Okay, if we have given various instructions, so that compiled instruction is a program, and group of, we do not use the word group in here, so better use the word set, and those set of programs is a software. Okay, so CPU is given instructions and data through programs. Yes, on the whatever data or whatever instruction we give to the CPU, it is given in the basis of programs. And what is this program? This is set of instructions. The CPU then fetches the program and data from the memory and performs arithmetic and logical operations as per given instruction and stores the result back to the memory. Just find this diagram. This point will be clear to you all from this diagram only. See what we have written. CPU then fetches the program and data from the memory. Now see, I told you this color which is colored area, this is your CPU. I told that it is divided into two major components, which is CU, and another major component of CPU is an ALU. Okay, so whatever processing or whatever fetching work is being done by the CPU, so from where those data is being taken? So those data is being taken from this memory. Here we can find two memories are here, like this is primary memory, which is divided into RAM and ROM, and this is secondary storage. I think we all know very well. I will be explaining you all about these things. Okay, so whatever data we need, it is taken from the memory, and we know that this ALU is responsible for performing the arithmetic and logical operations. So after performing this arithmetic or logical work, data is again put back onto the memory. Data is again returned to the primary memory or from where we have taken. Basically we take it from primary memory only because it is temporary. Data stored here is on temporary, stored here will be on temporary basis. This is not permanently stored. Okay, this is what written here. CPU fetches the data or program from the memory, and this arithmetic or logical unit performs the required operation, performs the required work, and then again result is put back to the memory. Okay, and while this processing, the CPU stores the data as well as instruction in its local memory, which is called as registers. So this is again very important point. When this processing work is done, so the CPU, it stores those data, or we say the instruction, in its local memory, and that local memory is termed as a register. Okay, so coming to the component of CPU other than register. Again, register is what? A local storage which a CPU use for the processing work, where data is being stored. That is a register. So apart from this register, CPU has two main components, which is ALU, that is arithmetic and logical unit, and CU, which is control unit. Now coming to the first one. Now what you can do, you can make another point of ALU, right? You can just make another point. You can make the point number 1, which will be your ALU. So ALU is what? It performs the arithmetic and logical operations. Now arithmetic means what? Addition, multiplication, division, subtraction. This comes under arithmetic part. Okay, if anyone is going to ask you what are the arithmetic operators, so I think you might be knowing that it is arithmetic means what? Which are addition, operation, multiplication, subtraction, division. This all are arithmetic. Okay, and if I say logical, so logical means comparison, or comparison operators like greater than symbol, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, not equal to, equal to. These are comparison operators, which we say logical operators. Okay, so this is ALU, and the second component is what? CU. Second component is CU. I think you can find, like, right in the diagram, ALU, which performs both arithmetic and logical operations, and when you say CU, so I told you that CU, as the name suggests, which controls the instructions execution, it guides the data flow, and it simply interprets the instruction. So that is functioning of CU. It simply governs the instruction, it simply checks the data flow, and it controls the instruction execution. So that is functioning of CU. Okay, this you can write down in the second point. You can give heading as CU, and then onto that CU part you can write down this point which I have highlighted here. Okay, so this is the very first component in the functional unit, which is CPU. Another name I am giving you all here, which is known as microprocessor. CPU is given another name, that is microprocessor. Again, it is important. Okay, so this is all about CPU. Now coming to the first unit. See, we talked about this major part, right? We have talked about this major part, that is CPU leaving behind this memory, which we are going to deal in afterwards. We have dealt with this CPU part, which is CU, and then arithmetic logical unit. Now we'll find what is input device, then we'll check what are output devices or output unit, then we'll come back to the memory. Okay, now fine, let's just check what is this input devices or what is this input unit. So input devices, I told you that input devices or input unit, these are simply what by which we can give input to our system. This input unit or input devices, this is responsible for providing input to the computer system. So this is what is written here. The devices through which control signals are sent to a computer, these are termed as input devices. Yes, that means by which we can give input, like we make use of keyboard, mouse, touch screen. This all are input devices, right? And I told you that whatever input we give, computer understands only binary language, which is in terms of zeros and ones. We also call binary as digital, or we also call this as a machine language. So whenever I use this word binary, digital or machine, so it exactly means zeros and ones only. So the second functioning of input devices is given here. These devices convert the input data into digital form that is acceptable by computer system. So I told you, whatever we say, whatever we want to give as an input to the computer, so computer directly cannot understand our language. So what functioning is being done because of this input devices or because of this input unit? First of all, that conversion is being done. Now what is that conversion? First of all, whatever input we give, it is being converted in terms of zeros and ones. Like even if I am speaking right now, or even if I am suppose typing something, like I have typed the word input. So first of all, this word will be converted in terms of zeros and ones, and then this is read by the computer system, because computer only understands language which is in terms of zeros and ones. Okay, so this conversion is done in the unit which is the input unit. Okay, so this is what is written here. These devices convert the input data into digital form. Digital means what? In terms of zeros and ones. That is acceptable by the computer system. So I think we want examples of examples of input devices, which are keyboard, mouse, scanner, touch screen, etc. Okay, so the functioning of input devices, the major function of input unit is this only, that it is responsible for conversion of the data or conversion of the data which is being input into digital form or in terms of zeros and ones. Okay, so this is all about input devices. Next, yes, one more important point is written here. Data entered through input device is temporarily stored in the main memory, or we call it as RAM. Okay, so see, whatever data is being given, that is stored on temporary basis onto main memory, which is termed as RAM. Because if I say RAM, so this is not permanently stored, this is temporarily stored. Okay, and if anyone want permanent storage, so for that secondary memory or secondary storage is being used. So again, you can make use of this point. You can write this point down onto your notes. Okay, so this is all about input unit. Coming to the third component, which is output devices, or we say output unit. So as the name suggests, if I say output, that means what? Any device or any unit from which we get the output, that is termed as an output device, or that is termed as an output unit. Okay, so let's find what is an output device. The device that receives data from a computer system for display is called output device. Okay, directly means what? By which we can get some result, by which we can get some output, that is termed as an output device. Okay, now see, I told you that if I say input unit, so whatever input we want to give, first of all, input unit converts those data in terms of zeros and ones, right? Now suppose if I say 2, So suppose 2 is converted in terms of zeros and ones, and my answer came out to be 0 1 0 or 0 0 1 0. Okay, but we are unable to understand what is meaning of 0 0 1 0. Therefore, again we need some conversion, so that this 0 0 1 0 is being converted to some human understandable format. So I'll get to know that yes, this is my exact number and I can recognize it. So this conversion, that means the conversion of zeros and ones to human understandable, is done in an output unit. Okay, I repeat, whatever instruction we give to computer is in terms of zeros and ones, and whatever processing will be done, suppose if I say, if I'm saying we are supposed to add two numbers, so directly addition is not performed. First of all, that two numbers, they are converted in terms of zeros and ones, then the processing work is being done, and then the output again which we get will be in terms of zeros and ones, right? But that output will not be clear to us since we are human being, right? We are not a machine, so that we can recognize that yes, this is exactly the answer. So again we need some unit which will be responsible for conversion of those binary language to human understandable. Human means what? VVP, so that we can recognize it, we can get to know what this 0101 is. So that conversion from binary to human understandable format is done in an output device, is done in an output unit. So this point is given here. It converts digital information or binary information into human understandable format, and then the output is being displayed on the screen. And from where we get the output? We get the output in terms of monitor or visual display unit, or in terms of projector, headphone, printer, speakers, etc. Okay, so these are the functioning of CPU, input devices and output devices. Okay, now we are left with a major component, which is memory. Now as a name, if I say memory, I think you might be what is a memory. Whenever anyone say memory, so all of a sudden what your mind searches? Storage, right? So memory is nothing, is simply a storage where we can store some data, where we can store some information. That is a memory. Okay, now this memory is being divided into two. You can find this point here. Computers have two types of memory, which is primary and secondary memory. Okay, so the memory which we say data or any storage where we can store something, where we store data, that is a memory. So this memory is of two types. And what are these two types? The very first is primary memory, second is secondary memory. Coming to the first one, that is primary memory. I told you that whatever program or data which we take or which we give, first of all it is being stored onto primary memory before processing. Okay, whatever program or data is being done or is required during processing is taken from the primary memory, and then CPU interacts directly with the primary memory and perform the operations, and again result is put back into the memory. We have seen this in the functioning of CPU, right? That whatever data is being taken, so that data is being taken from primary memory, then onto ALU part, the operation is being performed, and again the result is put back into the memory, right? So see, this is the point which is written here. The CPU interacts directly with the primary memory to perform read and write operation. Now what is this read and write? Read means what? We are taking the data. We are taking the data, and write means what? We can add it. I think we all know what is added. We can write something. That is read and write operation. So again, this primary memory is of two types. This primary memory is of two types. That is random access memory, we call it as RAM, and read-only memory, which is ROM. Okay, so primary memory is of two types, which is random access memory and read-only memory. I think you might be knowing what is meaning of RAM and ROM. Okay, so we know if I say RAM, so RAM is what? They are volatile in nature. Now if I say volatile means what? Volatile means what? That as soon as power is supplied to the computer, so the data, it retains the data. Means as soon as power is there, data will be there, and as soon as power is turned off, then the contents which are written or the contents which are present in RAM will be erased, will be deleted. right? Because it is volatile in nature. So we can say that whatever data is being stored onto RAM, this is stored on a temporary basis and it is volatile in nature. Means as soon as power is supplied, data will be there, and as soon as power is turned off, data is erased. Because the RAM is a temporary memory. It is a temporary storage. RAM is usually referred to as main memory, and it is faster than secondary memory or storage devices. Yes, this RAM is also termed as main memory because this is one of the major component, or we can say major or main memory of the system. This is one of the important memory. So therefore it is given name as the main memory, and it works faster as compared to secondary memory. It works faster than secondary memory, obviously storage devices. Okay, so this is all about RAM. Coming to the second type, that is ROM. So ROM is what? It is non-volatile. Now non-volatile means what? That means even if there is power failure, so the contents will not be erased because it is permanent storage. This is permanent memory. The data which is stored here in case of ROM will be non-volatile and it will not be erased since it is a permanent storage. Okay, so this is all about RAM and ROM. Now I think you might be knowing that the very first program which appears onto your screen, that what we say, the very first program that appears onto the screen is what we say booting is going on, right? The startup program which we say boot loader, that loads the operating system into RAM, is stored in a ROM. Now have you ever find that that operating system, that when booting is being done, so that is not working properly, and that is even if there is power failure, so booting is stopped, or when we find that there is power, so that booting process again we need to install such software, we need to install such operating system. No, because that is a permanent storage, that is a permanent memory, that is ROM. So the very first program which appears onto a screen, that is boot loader, and that loads your operating system, that is stored in a ROM. So it is stored in a ROM, so it is permanent, so it is non-volatile. Okay, so this is about primary memory. Next memory is what? Second type is secondary memory. So secondary memory, I think we all know very well that primary memory, they have limited storage capacity. Like we cannot store much of the data in case of primary memory, right? And what are the primary memory? Which are volatile and read only, that is RAM and ROM. So therefore if we need more storage, so there we can make use of a secondary memory, also termed it auxiliary. There we can make use of secondary storage, or it is also termed as auxiliary memory. Okay, so here the data is stored on permanent basis, and even it can be taken for future use. So let's find the point here as secondary memory is non-volatile. I think you might be knowing what is non-volatile. Right now I explained you what is non-volatile, and has larger storage capacity than primary memory. Yes, therefore since there was a drawback in case of primary that we cannot store much of the data, so here we are making use of secondary storage, and here bulk of data can be stored. It is slower and cheaper than main memory. Yes, again we know it very well that if we compare secondary and primary memory, so this is slower, it does not work fastly, and cheaper. Yes, it is slower and cheaper than main memory, but it cannot be accessed directly by the CPU. Contents of secondary storage need to be first brought into main memory for the CPU to access. That means it directly cannot be accessed by the CPU, and if you want to access it, so first of all this is brought into the main memory for the CPU to access. Okay, and you know that main memory is present in CPU only. So first of all the contents are brought into the main memory for the CPU, and then they can easily be accessed. And I think we all know very well the secondary storage or secondary devices are hard disk, memory card, pen drives, we say flash drives. This all are the examples of secondary memory or secondary storage, right? So this is second type, which is secondary memory. There is another memory which is very important, which is cache. This is third type. This is cache. CACHE. I told you there are two types of memory, primary and secondary. Okay. First of all, you will be writing about these two only, which is primary memory, secondary memory. Just below secondary memory, write down simple heading as cache memory. Okay. This is again a very important memory. That is cache. So what is this cache memory? It is also known as cache. Some of you can call it as cache, or it can be cache. So we know that the RAM is faster than secondary. Right now we have seen, in case of RAM, there we have written one point that RAM is faster than secondary storage. But this RAM is not as fast as the computer's processor. So because of RAM, CPU may have to slow down. We know that RAM is faster than secondary storage, but this is not as fast as the computer's CPU. So because of this RAM, CPU have to work slowly. So to speed up the operations of the CPU, one memory is being used that is known as the cache. Okay, so whenever I say cache, just remember that it is a very high speed memory. Its speed is very high. Okay, and just find its definition here. Just find its point. To speed up the operations of the CPU, a very high speed memory is placed between CPU and the primary memory, which is known as a cache. Okay, so we know RAM works faster as compared to secondary storage, but it is not as fast as the computer's processor. So if the working and processing is being done, so because of the RAM, CPU have to work slowly. So to speed up the operations, what is being done? A very high speed memory, which is known as cache memory, is placed between CPU and the primary memory, and that memory is termed as a cache memory. So this is all about memory. So right now we are dealing with the functional units of component. Let's do a very quick recap of what we read. First of all, we read about CPU, and there I told you that CPU has two major components, which is ALU and CU. The second component in this functional unit is input devices, third is output devices, and fourth is the memory. In memory, again I gave you two major points or two major types of memory, which is primary and secondary memory, and at last I have given you all one more memory type, which is cache memory, and again this cache memory is very important. Okay, now just find units of memory. I think I have given you all this homework. What is the smallest unit of memory, which is the highest one. So now I am going to tell you this answer. Now see, units of memory. So I told you that computer understands only two terms, which is with whatever we tell, whatever we say, whatever we want to give computer as an input. So this is first of all converted in terms of zeros and ones, right? Because computer understand or computer uses as binary numbers only. So that is in terms of zeros and ones. So this is 0 and 1. This is called as a bit. This is called as a bit, and this is the basic unit of memory. Okay, and when I say bit, its full form is binary digit. So this is the smallest unit. Now this bit is what? This bit is in terms, this bit means 0 and 1. Now further these bits are grouped together to form words. Now see, bit means what? 0 and 1. Again I repeat, bit means 0 and 1. Now this bit, these are grouped together to form words. Okay. Now if I say 4-digit word, so 4-digit word is called as a nibble. Bit means what? Bit means 0 and 1. Now this bit is what? 0 and 1. This bit is divided into, or these are grouped together. This 0 and 1, these are grouped together to form words. Now when I say 4-digit word, 4-bit word, that is called as a nibble. Example, find here 1001. 4-bit is there, means 4-digit. 1 second digit, third digit, 4 digit. So this is a nibble. 8-bit word is called a byte. That means right now here we had 4 words, and likewise if we'll have 8 words, that will be a byte. Okay, that is a byte. Now see, here you can find one table. This table shows the units of memory. So from here you get to know which is the smallest and which is the highest one. Now see, now from here you'll get to know byte. Byte is what? 8 bit. Okay, byte is what? 8 bit. Now when I say 1 kilobyte, that is 1024 byte. So what? How will say? 1024 byte is 1 KB, and 1024 KB is 1 MB. And I think we know this memories, right? We know this units of memory. Why 1024 only? Because whatever we say in terms of computer, that is taken in terms of 2. So 2 raised to the power 10 comes out to be 1024. Therefore it is 1024. Okay, so 1024 KB comes out to be 1 MB. Now if I say 1024 MB, that comes out to be 1 GB. This 1024 GB means 1 TB, that is terabyte. These names are given here, you can read this from here. Okay, so if anyone is going to ask you what is 1 TB or 1 terabyte, so that is 1024 GB. And 1024 terabyte comprises 1 PB, that is petabyte. Likewise 1024 PB means 1 EB, that is 1 exabyte. 1024 EB means 1 ZB, that is zettabyte. And this is the highest one. 1024 ZB means 1 YB, that is yottabyte. So this is the highest unit of memory, and smallest is the bit. Okay, so next I am going to tell you in the next video. So if you have any sort of doubt, do let me know so that I can make the things very clear to you.